Hello and welcome to the USA breaking news on 5th June 2026. Elon Musk near historic $1 trillion fortune milestone. Washington, D.C. tech billionaire Elon Musk has seen his net worth soar to an estimated $970,000 billion, bringing him closer than to becoming the first person in history to amass $1 trillion of fortune. A new figure shows that Musk's wealth has grown at an extraordinary pace over his 31 years business and technology career, increasing by an average of 992 every second dollar, that translates to nearly $59,500 per minute, $3.6 million per hour, $85.7 million per day, and approximately at 1.3 billion annually. The vast majority of Musk's wealth is tied to his ownership stakes in the major companies, particularly SpaceX and Tesla. His holding in a SpaceX, which remains privately owned, are estimated at $538 billion, while his Tesla share are valued at around $167 billion. Stock options and right linked to both companies add another $115 billion to his fortune. Despite being the world's richest individual, much of Musk's wealth exists on paper through stocks ownership rather than cash readily available for spending. Analysts note that Musk's fortune now exceeds the gross domestic product (GDP) of more than 125 countries, including Norway, Thailand, Argentina, South Africa, where he was born. His estimated wealth is equivalent to nearly 3% of the United States GDP, surpassing the relative wealth level achieved by legendary American industrial John D. Rockefeller during his era. Economists estimated that an average American household would need to work for more than 11 million years to accumulate wealth comparable to Musk's current fortune. The financial expert says Musk could close $1 trillion threshold if SpaceX eventually launches an initial public offering IPO, move that could dramatically increase the value of his largest assets and cement his place in economic history. Zelensky calls for face-to-face meeting with Putin to end Ukraine war. Kiev, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has formally called for direct talk with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in a new effort to bring an end to the war that has ravaged both nations for years. In an open letter addressed to Putin, Zelensky argued that Ukraine cannot afford to wait for the United States to refocus on the conflict while global attention appears increasingly drawn to tensions involving Iran. Zelensky emphasized that lasting peace can only be achieved through direct negotiation between Kiev and Moscow. He proposed a ceasefire during any future peace talks, saying such a move would create environment conducive to a meaningful dialogue. However, Putin has previously rejected the idea of temporary truce. The Kremlin confirmed that it had received Zelensky's letter and stated that Putin would be informed of its content. Meanwhile, USA President Donald Trump welcomed the prospect of meeting between the two leaders, urging both sides to make compromises in a pursuit of peace. Despite the proposal, Putin has continued to express skepticism about the effectiveness of direct negotiation. Russia maintained that any settlement must include Ukraine's withdrawal from the four occupied regions, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, and commitment by Ukraine to abandon its ambitions of joining the North Atlantic Trade Organization. Not all Ukraine has firmly rejected those demands, insisting that it will not surrender its territory, arguing that doing so would only encourage future Russia aggression. Speaking on the human cost of the conflict, Zelensky said Ukraine continued to suffer significant civilian and military casualties. He urged Putin to show courage and pursue a path towards ending the war, stressing that the loss of life must not continue. The latest appeal comes amid ongoing diplomatic efforts and growing international pressure to find a negotiated solution to one of Europe's deadliest conflicts in a decades. A Rwandan genocide author released the poetry book aimed at educating youth. Kigali, Rwanda, Rwandan author, a genocide survivor, Kaitesi Judensi, has expanded her literary work with the release of a new poetry collection titled By My Child, a book designed to help young people understand the history of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, preserve its memory, and promote healing and resilience. Published in May 2026, the book is available in Rwanda and online. It contains 32 poems organized into four thematic sections: identity and origin, preserving the history of the genocide against the Tutsi, survival and testimony, and healing from trauma while building a hopeful future. Speaking about the book, Kaitesi said the first section aims to help young people better understand their roots and the historical background of Rwanda, particularly those living abroad who may have limited knowledge of their family's history. She noted that many young people do not have opportunities to discuss the country's past with their parents, leaving them with only fragmented information from media and other sources. Through the poems, she hopes reader will be encouraged to explore their history and encourage in conversation with their families. The second section focuses on preserving the memory of the genocide against the Tutsi, emphasizing the importance of safeguarding historical truth for future generations. The third section highlights the experience of survivors and encourages them to speak openly about what they endured. The final section addresses emotional recovery and resilience, exploring how survivors and their descendants can cope with trauma and move forward despite the painful legacy of genocide. According to Kaitesi, the decision to present the book in poetry form was intentional. She believes poetry offers reader a concise and accessible way to engage with complex historical and emotional subjects, especially in an era when many people have limited time for length books. Each poem delivers complete message on its own. She explained the arguing that the reader can select individual poem while still gaining valuable insight into Rwandan's history and the importance of preserving its truth. Although intended for broad audience, My Child is particularly targeted at young people, providing answers to questions they may have about Rwanda's past but may feel uncomfortable discussing with their families. Kaitesi reviewed that she began writing the poems in 2024. She also noted that while poems are often written and recited during annual commemoration activities, is unaware of another full poetry collection dedicated entirely to the history and legacy of the genocide against the Tutsi. Currently primary school teacher in German, Kaitesi is already known for her works on genocide history and resilience. Her previous book includes A Broken Life, Choosing Resilience, and Unity Guest. The latter having received the recognition and approval for educational use in schools in Germany and by relevant Rwandan institutions. The release of My Child adds a new dimension to efforts aimed at educating younger generation about Rwanda's history while promoting remembrance, dialogue, and hearing truth literature. Hezbollah rejects Israel-Lebanon ceasefire agreement. Beirut, Lebanon. The Lebanese armed group Hezbollah has publicly rejected the terms of proposed ceasefire agreements between Israel and Lebanon, raising fresh concern about stability along the country's shared border. In a statement released by the group, Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem criticized the negotiation, describing them as an attempt to intimidate and undermine Lebanon. He claimed the proposed arrangement had been widely condemned by Lebanese citizens. The development comes as Israel and Lebanon have recently signaled efforts to revive and strengthen ceasefire framework aimed at reducing hostilities and preventing further escalation in the region. A joint statement issued following diplomatic discussion indicated that participating parties had agreed on a measure intended to halt fighting, with expectation that Hezbollah would comply with the terms of the agreement of the arrangement. However, Hezbollah, which was not directly involved in the negotiation, rejected the proposal. The group argued that the ceasefire terms would require its fighters to stop military operation and withdraw from southern Lebanon near the Israel border, a move it views as surrendering to Israel demands. The proposed agreements emerged after 4 rounds of talks, reportedly facilitated by the United States. Under the plan, Hezbollah's military activities would be removed from the area between the Israel border and the Litani River. The agreement also envisions expanded deployment of the Lebanese armed forces in southern Lebanon, with support from the United States to secure the region and ensure that only state forces operate within designated security zones. Hezbollah's rejection of the proposal, highlighting the significant challenges facing international effort to establish a lasting ceasefire and reduce tension along one of Middle East's most volatile frontiers. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.